The fluorescent hospital lights buzzed overhead as Simone Carter sat in the break room, her hands trembling as she stared at her phone screen. The text message from her older sister Nicole burned into her retinas like a brand. "I don't want you in my life anymore. Leave my home and never come back. You've done enough damage. We're done, Simone. Done." But Nicole didn't know that Simone had just received the worst news of her life 30 minutes earlier. Dr. Patricia Lewis had called her into the office with test results that made her world crumble. The breast cancer had returned. Stage 3 this time. The doctors gave her 18 months, maybe less. Simone's coffee cup slipped from her numb fingers, crashing to the floor and splattering brown liquid across the white tiles. The sound echoed through the empty break room like a gunshot. She had rushed straight from the doctor's office to Nicole's house, desperate to tell someone, to find comfort in the arms of the only family she had left besides their grandmother. Instead, she'd found Nicole's door locked, her belongings thrown on the front porch in garbage bags, and that text message waiting like a death sentence. "What did I do?" she whispered to the empty room, her voice cracking. "What did I do wrong?" The cancer diagnosis felt secondary now to the crushing weight of losing her sister. They had been inseparable once. After their parents died in that car accident when Simone was 16 and Nicole was 20, they had promised each other they would always be there. Nicole had raised her, worked 2 jobs to put Simone through nursing school, celebrated every milestone. Now Nicole was throwing her out like trash, and Simone couldn't even remember what she had supposedly done. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Nicole, "And stop calling me. I mean it." But Simone hadn't called. She had been too shocked to do anything but sit in her car outside Nicole's house for 2 hours, crying until she had no tears left. Then she had driven to work in a daze, going through the motions of her shift while her heart shattered into a million pieces. "Simone." Nurse Janet poked her head into the break room. "Girl, what happened in here? You look like you've seen a ghost." Simone looked up, and Janet's expression immediately shifted from curiosity to concern. "Oh honey, what's wrong?" "My sister." Simone's voice broke. "She doesn't want me anymore." Janet stepped over the spilled coffee and knelt beside Simone's chair. "What are you talking about? You and Nicole have been thick as thieves since forever." "I don't know what I did," Simone sobbed. "She threw all my stuff out. She said I've done enough damage. But I don't know what damage she's talking about." Janet pulled Simone into a fierce hug. "There has to be more to this story. Nicole loves you more than life itself. Everyone knows that." But as Simone cried into Janet's shoulder, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had lost everything in one day. The cancer she could fight. But losing Nicole felt like losing herself. What she didn't know was that across town, Nicole was sitting in her own kitchen, staring at her phone with tears streaming down her face. Her 6-year-old daughter Destiny was at her ex-husband's house, and Nicole was grateful for that. She didn't want Destiny to see her falling apart. The divorce papers sat on the table beside her, still warm from the printer. Malik wanted full custody. Her lawyer had called that morning with devastating news. Someone had been feeding information to Malik's legal team about Nicole's struggles with depression, her missed work days, her financial problems. Someone close enough to know intimate details about her life. Someone who had been living in her house for the past 6 months. Nicole's hands shook as she typed another message to Simone, then deleted it. How could she explain that she suspected her own sister of betraying her? How could she voice the fear that Simone had been reporting back to Malik about her parenting, her mental health, her ability to care for Destiny? The evidence felt overwhelming. Simone was the only one who knew about the days Nicole couldn't get out of bed, the nights she cried herself to sleep, the time she snapped at Destiny out of pure exhaustion. And now Malik knew all of it too, documented in legal papers that painted Nicole as an unfit mother. Nicole's phone rang. Grandma Rose's contact photo lit up the screen, but Nicole let it go to voicemail. She couldn't talk to anyone right now. She couldn't explain why she had just destroyed the most important relationship in her life based on suspicion and fear. But the alternative, losing Destiny forever, was unthinkable. Meanwhile, Simone finally made it home to her small apartment, the one she'd given up to move in with Nicole 6 months ago. The landlord had already rented it out. She had nowhere to go except a motel room that smelled like disinfectant and broken dreams. As she sat on the lumpy bed, the weight of the day crashed over her. Cancer, homelessness, and a sister who wanted nothing to do with her. She didn't know that Nicole was making the biggest mistake of her life. And she didn't know that the truth would come out in the most heartbreaking way possible. 3 days later, Simone was still living out of her car in the hospital parking lot. She had been picking up extra shifts, anything to avoid dealing with her reality, The motel had been too depressing and she couldn't afford it anyway. At least the hospital had bathrooms and a cafeteria. Dr. Patricia Lewis found her in the supply closet, changing into scrubs she had washed in the hospital sink. "Simone Carter, what in God's name are you doing?" Dr. Lewis's voice was sharp with concern. Simone froze, a clean scrub top halfway over her head. "I was just. Don't you dare lie to me. Are you living in this hospital?" The question hung in the air between them. Simone slowly pulled the scrub top down and faced her supervisor. Dr. Lewis was a no-nonsense woman who had mentored Simone since she started working here 5 years ago. Lying to her felt impossible. "Kind of," Simone admitted quietly. "Kind of. Girl, you either are or you aren't. And from the looks of those wrinkled clothes and the fact that you've been here for 72 hours straight, I'd say you are." Dr. Lewis crossed her arms. "What happened to living with your sister?" Simone's throat tightened. "That didn't work out." "Didn't work out?" "Last week you were talking about helping Nicole with her custody situation and how grateful you were to have family support during." Dr. Lewis stopped mid-sentence, her eyes widening. "Oh honey, you haven't told her about the diagnosis, have you?" "I tried to," Simone whispered. "I went straight to her house after you gave me the news. But she had already decided she didn't want me there anymore." Dr. Lewis sat down heavily on a supply crate. "This is all wrong. Nicole would never abandon you if she knew what you were facing. There's something else going on here. She said I'd done enough damage. But I don't know what she meant. Have you talked to anyone else in your family? Your grandmother?" Simone shook her head. "Grandma Rose has been calling, but I can't face her right now. What if Nicole told her terrible things about me? What if the whole family sides with her?" Dr. Lewis stood up and placed her hands on Simone's shoulders. "Listen to me carefully. You are not sleeping in your car another night. I have a spare room at my house and you're going to use it until we figure this out. I can't impose." "You're not imposing. You're accepting help from someone who cares about you." Dr. Lewis's voice softened. "And Simone, we need to start your treatment soon. The delay isn't helping anything." Across town, Nicole was having her own crisis. She sat in her lawyer's office, staring at a folder full of evidence that supposedly proved she was an unfit mother. The details were too specific, too intimate. Someone had been documenting her struggles with surgical precision. "Your ex-husband's team has been building this case for months," the lawyer explained. "They have records of your missed work days, photographs of your house during your difficult periods, even recordings of you raising your voice at Destiny." "Recordings?" Nicole's blood ran cold. How could they have recordings? "Someone with access to your home would have to be helping them. Someone you trust." Nicole thought about the past 6 months. Simone had been the only constant presence in her house. Simone, who was always asking questions about Nicole's mental health, always offering to help with Destiny, always encouraging Nicole to get professional help. What if it had all been an act? What if Simone had been gathering evidence for Malik from the beginning? The lawyer continued, "We need to prepare for the custody hearing next week. Do you have any idea who might be providing this information?" Nicole's hands clenched in her lap. "I think so. If you know who it is, we need to document that betrayal. It could help your case." But even as Nicole nodded, a small voice in her head whispered that she might be wrong. The voice sounded like Grandma Rose, who had always taught them that family was everything. That assumptions could destroy love faster than facts. Nicole silenced that voice. She had to protect Destiny no matter what. That evening, Grandma Rose sat in her living room, surrounded by photos of her granddaughters. Something was desperately wrong. Nicole wasn't returning her calls, and Simone sounded broken the one time she had answered. At 78, Rose had seen enough family drama to know when pride and fear were tearing people apart. She had raised these girls after their parents died, and she knew them better than they knew themselves. Nicole's text from earlier that day had been brief. "Simone is no longer living with me. Please don't ask questions." But Rose always asked questions. It was her job as the family matriarch. She picked up her phone and dialed Nicole's number again. This time she wasn't taking no for an answer. "Hi, Grandma." Nicole's voice was flat, exhausted. "Don't hi Grandma me. What's going on with you and your sister?" "Nothing's going on. We just needed space." "Nicole Marie Carter, I have been on this earth for 78 years, and I know the difference between needing space and cutting family off. Which one is it?" Silence stretched between them. "She betrayed me, Grandma," Nicole finally whispered. "She's been feeding information to Malik for his custody case. I found out 3 days ago." Rose's heart sank. "What kind of information?" "Everything. My bad days, my struggles, things about how I parent Destiny. Personal things that only someone living in my house would know. And you think Simone told Malik these things? Who else could it be? Rose closed her eyes. Baby girl, did you ask her about it? What was I supposed to say? Hey, have you been sabotaging my custody case? She would have just lied. So you threw her out without giving her a chance to explain. I had to protect Destiny. And where is Simone now? Nicole was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. I told her not to contact me. Rose felt her heart breaking for both of her granddaughters. Nicole, what if you're wrong? I'm not wrong. But what if you are? The question hung in the air until Nicole hung up the phone. Rose stared at her phone, then scrolled to Simone's number. When it went to voicemail, she left a message that would change everything. Simone, baby, it's Grandma Rose. I don't know what's happened between you and Nicole, but I know it's breaking both your hearts. I'm going to find out the truth, even if I have to turn this whole city upside down to do it. You girls are all the family we have left, and I won't let pride destroy what your parents died believing in. Call me back. But Simone's phone was dead, sitting in her car in Dr. Lewis's driveway, and she didn't get the message. The truth was out there waiting to be discovered. And time was running out for everyone involved. Grandma Rose had been awake since 4 a.m., sitting at her kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a plan. At 78 she moved slower than she used to, but her mind was as sharp as ever. If her granddaughters were too stubborn and hurt to find the truth, then she would find it for them. She started with what she knew. Malik wanted full custody of Destiny, and someone was feeding him information about Nicole's personal life. Nicole believed it was Simone, but Rose had helped raise both those girls. Simone wouldn't hurt a fly, much less sabotage her sister's relationship with her daughter. Which meant someone else was responsible. Rose picked up her phone and called her neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, who had been Nicole's babysitter growing up and still kept in touch with the family. Dorothy, it's Rose. I need a favor. An hour later, Rose was sitting in Mrs. Henderson's kitchen, learning things that made her blood boil. Malik has been coming around the neighborhood for months, Mrs. Henderson explained, stirring sugar into her tea. He's been talking to people, asking questions about Nicole's state of mind, whether she's been taking good care of Destiny. What kind of questions? Oh, you know. Has he seen Nicole yelling at the child? Does she seem depressed? Is she drinking? That sort of thing. Real subtle like, but I could tell what he was doing. Rose's jaw tightened. Did anyone tell him anything? Mrs. Henderson looked uncomfortable. Well, you know how people talk. And Nicole has been struggling since the divorce. We've all seen it. That doesn't mean she's a bad mother. No, but Malik was real good at making it seem like he was just concerned about Destiny's welfare. He got a few people to talk, I'm afraid. Rose thanked Mrs. Henderson and left with a heavy heart. But at least now she knew Malik had been building his case through the neighborhood, not through Simone. Her next stop was Nicole's workplace. As a receptionist at a medical office, Nicole had been struggling with attendance lately. Rose wanted to know if Malik had been there too. Dr. Martinez, Nicole's supervisor, was reluctant to discuss employee matters until Rose explained the custody situation. I'm sorry to say this, Mrs. Carter, but Nicole's ex-husband did contact us about a month ago. He claimed he was worried about her mental health affecting her job performance. Rose's hands clenched in her lap. What did you tell him? We couldn't give him specific information, of course. But he already seemed to know about her missed days, her struggles with concentration. He said he was trying to get her help. And you believed him? Dr. Martinez looked ashamed. He was very convincing. And frankly, we had been concerned about Nicole ourselves. She's been showing signs of depression, coming in late, leaving early. We thought family support might be good for her. Rose left the medical office feeling sick. Malik had been playing a long game, collecting information from multiple sources and making it look like he was the concerned father trying to help his unstable ex-wife. But there was still one piece of the puzzle she needed to solve. How had Malik gotten such detailed information about Nicole's home life? The lawyer had mentioned recordings and photographs taken inside the house. Rose called Nicole, but it went straight to voicemail. She tried Simone next, but that phone seemed to be turned off completely. Frustrated, Rose decided to take matters into her own hands. She drove to Nicole's house and used the key Nicole had given her years ago for emergencies. The house was quiet. Destiny was still at Malik's for the week and Nicole was at work. Rose walked through the room slowly, looking for anything that seemed out of place. In the living room, she found a small device tucked behind a picture frame. It looked like some kind of recording equipment. Her heart racing, she searched the rest of the house and found two more devices. one in the kitchen and one in Destiny's bedroom. Rose stared at the devices in her palm, her mind racing. Malik hadn't needed an inside source. He had been bugging Nicole's house. She immediately called the police, then sat down to wait for them, her hands shaking with rage and relief. Relief that Simone was innocent, and rage that Malik had violated his ex-wife's privacy so thoroughly. While she waited, she called Nicole's work and left a message for her to come home immediately. It was an emergency. 20 minutes later, Nicole burst through the front door, her face pale with worry. "Grandma, what's wrong? Is Destiny okay?" Rose held up the recording devices. "Your daughter is fine. But we need to talk about your sister." Nicole stared at the devices, her face going through a series of emotions. Confusion, understanding, horror, and finally, crushing guilt. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Malik was recording me? For months, from the look of it. These were hidden all over your house." Nicole sank into a chair, her hands covering her face. I was so sure that Simone. You thought your sister, who has loved you and protected you since she was 16 years old, suddenly decided to destroy your life? The evidence seemed so clear. Someone was feeding him information, and Simone was the only one who knew those details about my life. Except Malik didn't need someone to tell him. He was listening to everything himself. Nicole began to cry, deep, wrenching sobs that came from somewhere in her soul. "I threw her out, Grandma. I said terrible things to her. I told her I never wanted to see her again." "Yes, you did. She must hate me." Rose moved to sit beside her granddaughter, wrapping her arms around Nicole's shaking shoulders. "Simone doesn't know how to hate you. But she's hurting, baby girl. She's hurting real bad. I have to find her. I have to apologize." "Yes, you do. But first, you need to know something else." Nicole looked up, her eyes red and swollen. "Simone came to your house 3 days ago for a reason. She had something important to tell you." "What?" Rose took a deep breath. "I think you should hear it from her." "But Nicole, when you threw her out, you didn't just break her heart about losing her sister. You took away the one person she needed most when she got the worst news of her life." Nicole's face went white. "What kind of news?" "Find your sister, baby girl. And when you do, you better be ready to do some serious groveling." As the police arrived to document the illegal recording devices, Nicole was already grabbing her keys. She had to find Simone and somehow convince her that their bond was stronger than one terrible mistake. But finding her sister would prove to be harder than she thought. And the clock was ticking on more than just their relationship. Nicole had been driving around the city for 6 hours, checking every place she thought Simone might be. The hospital had told her that Simone was taking some personal time. Her old apartment building confirmed the unit had been rented to someone else. The motel managers all shook their heads. No one matching Simone's description had checked in recently. As the sun set over the city, Nicole sat in her car outside their childhood church, tears streaming down her face. She had called Simone's phone dozens of times, but it went straight to voicemail every time. "God, please," she whispered to the darkening sky. "Help me find her. Help me fix this." Her phone rang and she grabbed it desperately, hoping it was Simone. Instead, it was Dr. Lewis from the hospital. "Is this Nicole Carter?" "Yes, this is Nicole. Are you calling about Simone?" There was a pause. "Miss Carter, I think we need to talk. Are you available to meet somewhere private?" "Is Simone okay?" "Please, I've been looking for her all day. I found out about the recordings. I know I was wrong." "Miss Carter, please. Can you meet me at Mercy Hospital? The main lobby?" Something in Dr. Lewis's voice made Nicole's stomach drop. "Is my sister hurt? Just come to the hospital. I'll explain everything when you get here." The drive to Mercy Hospital felt like it took forever. Nicole's mind raced with possibilities, each one worse than the last. Had Simone been in an accident? Was she sick? Was she even alive? Dr. Lewis was waiting in the lobby, a tall, elegant woman with kind eyes and a worried expression. She approached Nicole immediately. "Are you Nicole?" "Yes." "Where is my sister? What's happened to her?" Dr. Lewis gestured toward a quiet seating area. "Let's sit down." "I don't want to sit down. I want to see Simone." "Nicole, your sister is safe. She's staying at my house temporarily. But there are some things you need to understand before you see her." Nicole's knees gave out and she sank into one of the lobby chairs. "She's safe." "Yes, but she's not okay." Dr. Lewis sat beside her. "Nicole, do you know why Simone came to your house 3 days ago?" "No, she never got a chance to tell me. I was so angry She had just received some devastating medical news. She came straight from this hospital to your house because she needed her family. Nicole's heart stopped. What kind of medical news? Dr. Lewis hesitated. I think Simone should be the one to tell you the details. But I will say this, she needed you that day more than she's ever needed anyone in her life. And instead of finding support, she found rejection. Oh God. Nicole doubled over, feeling like she might be sick. Is it serious? Very serious. Can I see her? Please, I have to see her. Dr. Lewis studied Nicole's face carefully. She doesn't know I'm here talking to you. She made me promise not to contact any family members. But you did anyway. Because I've watched that girl cry herself to sleep for 3 nights straight. She won't start her treatment because she says she has nothing to fight for. She thinks her own family has abandoned her. Nicole began crying again. I didn't abandon her. I made a terrible mistake, but I love her more than my own life. Then you need to prove it. But Nicole, when you see her, you can't fall apart. She needs strength right now, not guilt. Can you do that? Nicole wiped her eyes and straightened her shoulders. I can do whatever my sister needs me to do. Dr. Lewis nodded. I live about 20 minutes from here. I'll call her and tell her I'm bringing someone to see her. I won't say who in case she tries to run. She would run from me? Wouldn't you? If someone you loved and trusted threw you out at the worst moment of your life. The question hit Nicole like a physical blow. Yes, she whispered. I probably would. 20 minutes later, Nicole sat in Dr. Lewis's living room, her heart pounding as she heard footsteps on the stairs. When Simone appeared in the doorway, Nicole's heart broke all over again. Her sister had lost weight she couldn't afford to lose. Her eyes were red and hollow, her skin had a grayish pallor, and she moved like someone much older than 28. When Simone saw Nicole, she froze completely. What is she doing here? Simone's voice was barely above a whisper. Simone, please sit down, Dr. Lewis said gently. You two need to talk. No. Simone backed toward the stairs. I can't do this. Simone, wait. Nicole stood up, her hands raised peacefully. Please, just give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes to what? Tell me more ways I've ruined your life. 5 minutes to tell you that I found the recording devices in your house. Simone stopped. What recording devices? Malik was bugging the house. He's been listening to everything for months. That's how he got all the information for his custody case. Not from you. Never from you. Simone stared at her sister, processing this information. You thought I was working with Malik? I was scared and stupid and I jumped to the worst possible conclusion instead of trusting the person who has never let me down in my entire life. You threw me out of your house. I know. You said I had done enough damage. I know. You told me you never wanted to see me again. Nicole's voice broke. I know. And I will regret those words for the rest of my life. Simone slowly walked down the remaining stairs and sat on the couch across from Nicole, but she kept her distance. Dr. Lewis says you found out something that day. Something medical. Nicole nodded, not trusting her voice. Are you going to tell me what it is? Nicole looked at Dr. Lewis, who nodded encouragingly. The cancer is back, Simone said quietly. Stage 3 breast cancer. They gave me 18 months, maybe less. Nicole felt the world tilt sideways. Everything else, the custody battle, the divorce, the recordings, suddenly seemed incredibly small and stupid. How long have you known? 3 days. I found out 30 minutes before I came to your house. Nicole closed her eyes, imagining her sister receiving that news and then driving straight to her for comfort, only to find her belongings on the porch and a text message telling her she wasn't wanted. Simone, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Are you sorry that I have cancer or sorry that you threw me out? Both. But mostly sorry that when you needed me most, I failed you completely. They sat in silence for several long minutes. Dr. Lewis quietly left the room, giving them privacy. The treatment starts Monday, Simone finally said. Aggressive chemotherapy, then surgery, then radiation. Dr. Lewis says I have a good chance if we act quickly. I have a good chance. No, Nicole said firmly. We have a good chance. Because you're not doing this alone. Simone looked up, and Nicole saw a flicker of hope in her eyes for the first time. I don't know if I can trust you again, Simone admitted. I know. But will you let me try to earn it back? Simone was quiet for so long that Nicole thought she might say no. Finally she nodded. I don't want to fight this alone. Nicole moved to sit beside her sister and carefully wrapped her arms around her. Simone was stiff at first, but then she melted into the embrace, and both women cried for all the pain they had caused each other and all the fear they were facing together. "I love you," Nicole whispered into Simone's hair. "I have loved you since the day you were born, and I will love you until the day I die. Nothing will ever change that again. Even if I don't make it through this? Especially if you don't make it through this. But you will, because you're a Carter woman and we're too stubborn to give up." For the first time in 3 days, Simone smiled. "Besides," Nicole added, "someone has to help me get custody of my daughter back. We're going to destroy Malik in court." "Damn right we are." The next morning, Nicole woke up on Dr. Lewis's couch with a crick in her neck and the strongest sense of purpose she'd felt in months. Simone had agreed to let her stay the night, and they had talked until 3 a.m. about everything: the cancer, the custody battle, the years of small hurts they had never addressed. Dr. Lewis was already in the kitchen making coffee when Nicole stumbled in. "How did you sleep?" Dr. Lewis asked. "Terribly," Nicole admitted. "But I don't care." "How is she this morning?" "Better. She actually ate breakfast, which is the first time in 3 days. Having you here is already helping." Simone appeared in the doorway looking slightly more like herself. She was dressed in scrubs, ready for work. "You're going to work today?" Nicole asked, concerned. "I need the distraction. And Dr. Lewis is starting my pre-treatment prep this afternoon." Nicole nodded. "What can I do to help?" "Actually," Simone said, sitting down with her coffee, "I've been thinking about your custody situation. We need to be strategic about this." "What do you mean?" "Malik's whole case is built on the idea that you're an unstable single mother who can't take care of Destiny properly. But what if you're not a single mother?" Nicole frowned. "I don't understand. What if you have family support? What if I move back in with you, not just as someone who needs a place to stay, but as a co-parent figure for Destiny? Malik can't argue that you're struggling alone if you clearly have help." Dr. Lewis looked up from her coffee. "That's actually brilliant. Courts love to see family stability and support systems. But Simone, you're about to start cancer treatment. You shouldn't be taking on more responsibilities." "Who says it's more responsibility? Destiny loves me and I love her. Taking care of her will give me something positive to focus on during treatment. And you taking care of me will show the court how committed you are to family." Nicole felt tears welling up. "You would do that? After everything I put you through? We're sisters. This is what sisters do." Dr. Lewis cleared her throat. "There's something else you should consider. The illegal recording devices Malik planted in your house. That's a federal crime. You could press charges." Nicole had been thinking about this all night. Would that help with custody? It would certainly show the court what kind of person Malik really is. A father who would violate his ex-wife's privacy and potentially traumatize his daughter by recording her in her own home doesn't look like someone who should have full custody. Simone leaned forward. "What exactly did he record?" "I don't know yet. The police have the devices and they're downloading the contents. But based on what his lawyer knew about my private life, it must be extensive." "This is going to destroy him," Simone said with satisfaction. "I hope so. But first, we need to focus on getting you healthy and getting our family back together." Later that afternoon, Nicole sat in the hospital waiting room while Simone underwent a series of pre-treatment tests. She had called her lawyer and explained the situation with the recording devices. She had also called Grandma Rose, who was so relieved to hear that the sisters had reconciled that she cried on the phone. "I'm coming over tonight to cook dinner," Rose had declared. "And I'm bringing all of Simone's favorite foods." "Grandma, you don't have to." "Child, when one of my grandbabies is fighting cancer, I cook. That's what I do." Nicole had also called Malik to arrange for Destiny to come home early. She needed her daughter to understand what was happening before the custody hearing next week. When Malik arrived at the house that evening, he seemed nervous and agitated. "What's this emergency about?" he demanded as soon as Nicole opened the door. "Destiny, go help Great-Grandma Rose in the kitchen," Nicole said to her daughter, who had run to greet her. Once Destiny was out of earshot, Nicole turned to Malik with an expression that could have melted steel. "You bugged my house." Malik's face went white, then red. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The police found 3 recording devices, Malik. 3. One in my living room, one in my kitchen, and one in our daughter's bedroom. You were recording our child. You can't prove I put them there." "Can't I?" "Because the police are going through all the recordings right now, and I'm betting they're going to find your voice on some of them. Probably giving instructions to whoever helped you plant them." Malik was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, smaller, desperate. "Nicole, I was worried about Destiny. You've been so unstable lately, and I just wanted to make sure she was safe. By illegally surveilling your ex-wife? By recording private conversations between a mother and her child. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did go that far. And now you're going to face the consequences. Malik looked toward the kitchen, where they could hear Destiny laughing with Rose and Simone. Is that Simone? He asked, sounding confused. Yes, that's my sister. The one you tried to frame as your informant. I never said she was working with me. You didn't have to. You let your lawyer present evidence that could have only come from someone living in my house, and you knew Simone was the only person who fit that description. Malik ran his hands through his hair. Look, I'm sorry about the recordings. I'll withdraw the custody petition. Oh no, Nicole said, stepping closer to him. You don't get to just walk away from this. You violated federal privacy laws. You traumatized your own daughter by recording her in her safe space. And you tried to destroy my relationship with the only family I have left. What do you want? I want you to face the consequences of your actions. But more than that, I want joint custody with a very specific arrangement. I get primary custody, you get supervised visitation until you complete anger management and respect my privacy boundaries. And you pay for all the legal fees this mess has cost me. That's not what I agreed to in the divorce. That was before you committed multiple felonies to try to steal my daughter from me. From the kitchen came the sound of Destiny's voice. Mama. Aunt Simone is teaching me how to make Grandma Rose's biscuits. Nicole's expression softened. Your daughter loves her aunt. And her aunt is fighting for her life right now. If you try to take Destiny away from us during this time, I will make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of father you really are. Malik looked defeated. What's wrong with Simone? That's none of your business anymore. But I'll tell you this much. My sister is going through something that puts your little custody tantrum in perspective. And we're going to get through it together as a family. Malik left without saying goodbye to Destiny, which told Nicole everything she needed to know about his priorities. Inside, the kitchen was filled with laughter and the smell of Rose's famous cooking. Simone was sitting at the table helping Destiny roll out biscuit dough, looking more alive than she had in days. Mama? Destiny called out when Nicole entered. Aunt Simone is going to live with us again. And she's going to teach me how to braid hair like hers. Nicole caught Simone's eye over Destiny's head. Her sister nodded slightly. She had already talked to their niece about the living arrangements, keeping it age-appropriate and positive. That sounds wonderful, baby girl, Nicole said, kissing the top of Destiny's head. Rose looked up from the stove where she was stirring gravy. How did it go with Malik? Better than expected. I think he's going to cooperate. Good. Because this family has been through enough drama to last a lifetime. As they sat down for dinner, Nicole watched her sister help Destiny with her plate, listened to Rose tell stories about when she and Simone were Destiny's age, and felt something she hadn't experienced in months, hope. Aunt Simone, Destiny said between bites of biscuit, are you sick? The table went quiet. They had agreed to be honest with Destiny but had been trying to find the right moment. Simone put down her fork and turned to face her niece. I'm sick, sweetie. But the doctors are going to help me get better. What kind of sick? I have something called cancer. It's like when bad cells try to take over the good cells in your body. But the doctors have medicine that fights the bad cells. Destiny processed this seriously. Is that why you're going to live with us? So Mama can take care of you? That's part of it. But mostly because I love you and your mama very much, and families should stick together when things get hard. Will your hair fall out like on TV? Simone smiled. It might. Would that scare you? Destiny shook her head. No. We can be bald together. I've always wanted to shave my head. Destiny? Nicole laughed despite herself. What? Would be cool. And then when Aunt Simone's hair grows back, we can see whose grows faster. Rose dabbed at her eyes with her napkin. Lord, this child is something else. She gets it from her mama, Simone said, looking at Nicole with love and gratitude. And her aunt, Nicole replied. That night, after Rose had gone home and Destiny was asleep, the sisters sat on Nicole's couch, planning for the weeks ahead. Treatment starts Monday, Simone said. Dr. Lewis says the first few sessions might not be too bad, but it's going to get harder. I've already talked to my supervisor about adjusting my schedule. I can work mornings and be home with you in the afternoons. Nicole, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Not because I owe you, but because I love you. And because this is what family does. Simone leaned against her sister's shoulder. I'm scared. Me too. But we're going to get through this together. Promise me something. Anything. If the treatment doesn't work, if I don't make it, Promise me you'll keep being the amazing mother you are. Don't let Malik or anyone else make you doubt yourself. Nicole wrapped her arms around her sister. You're going to make it. But I promise anyway. And promise me you'll tell Destiny stories about us when we were kids. The good ones and the embarrassing ones. I promise. And promise me you'll never doubt our bond again. No matter what happens, no matter who tries to come between us, remember that we're Carter women. We protect each other. I promise, Nicole whispered, her voice thick with tears. I promise all of it. As they held each other in the quiet living room, both sisters felt something they hadn't felt in a long time. Unshakable faith in their family bond. The battle ahead would be difficult, but they would face it together. And that made all the difference. Monday morning arrived gray and drizzling, matching Nicole's mood as she helped Simone get ready for her first chemotherapy session. Simone had been quiet since waking up, moving through her morning routine with the mechanical precision of someone trying not to think too hard about what lay ahead. You don't have to come with me, Simone said for the third time as they drove to the hospital. And you don't have to keep saying that, Nicole replied. I'm coming and that's final. What about Destiny? She'll be home from school at 3. Grandma Rose is picking her up. Everything is handled. The cancer center was nothing like Nicole had imagined. Instead of the cold, sterile environment she'd been dreading, it was warm and welcoming with soft lighting and comfortable chairs. The nurses greeted Simone by name and treated her like family. This is my sister Nicole, Simone introduced her to the team. We've heard so much about you, said Nurse Janet, the same colleague who had found Simone crying in the break room. Simone talks about you and Destiny constantly. Nicole felt a pang of guilt, knowing that until a few days ago, Simone had been facing this alone. They settled into a private room where Simone would receive her treatment. The process was slower than Nicole had expected. First blood work, then pre-medications to prevent nausea, then finally the chemotherapy drugs themselves. How long does this take? Nicole asked. About 4 hours for the full session, explained Dr. Peterson, the oncologist. Simone, how are you feeling? Nervous, Simone admitted, but ready to fight. As the 4-drip began, Nicole pulled out a book she had brought, a collection of short stories they had both loved as teenagers. Want me to read to you? Simone's eyes lit up. Really? You'll do the voices like when we were kids. Of course. For the next 4 hours, Nicole read story after story, doing silly voices and making Simone laugh despite the circumstances. Other patients and family members in nearby chairs smiled at their obvious closeness. You two are lucky to have each other, commented an elderly man receiving treatment in the next chair. Yes, we are, Nicole said, squeezing Simone's hand. By the time they got home, Simone was exhausted but in good spirits. The anti-nausea medication was working, and she felt well enough to help Destiny with her homework. How was school today, baby girl? Simone asked, settling beside her niece at the kitchen table. Good. I told my teacher about your cancer and she said her sister had it too. She said you're very brave. What else did she say? She said sometimes brave people need extra hugs. So I'm going to give you lots of extra hugs. True to her word, Destiny spent the evening giving her aunt gentle hugs and showing her drawings she had made at school, all featuring stick figures labeled Mama, Aunt Simone, and me standing together under a rainbow. That night, as Nicole tucked Destiny into bed, her daughter had questions. Mama, is Aunt Simone going to die? Nicole's breath caught. We're all going to die someday, sweetie. But Aunt Simone is getting the best medicine available, and she's young and strong. The doctors think she has a very good chance of getting completely better. But she might die soon? It's possible. But it's also possible that she'll live for many, many more years. We don't know for sure, so we're going to love her extra hard every day and help her fight. I can do that. I know you can, baby girl. The next morning brought unexpected news. Nicole's lawyer called with an update on the custody case. Malik wants to settle, the lawyer explained. The federal prosecutor is considering charges for the illegal surveillance, and he knows his reputation is destroyed. He's offering you primary custody with supervised visitation for him. What about child support? Full support, plus he pays all legal fees from this case. Nicole felt a weight lift from her shoulders. And if I don't accept? Then we go to court next week where all the recordings become public record. He'll face criminal charges and he'll likely lose visitation rights entirely. I'll think about it. Nicole discussed the offer with Simone that afternoon as they sat in the cancer center for session number 2. Take the deal, Simone advised. Destiny needs her father in her life, even if he's supervised for a while. And fighting in court will drain energy you need for other things. Are you sure? I'm sure. Besides, this way you win without having to put destiny through a messy court battle. When did you get so wise about custody issues? Simone grinned weakly. I've had time to think while sitting in this chair. The second treatment was harder than the first. Simone felt nauseated despite the medication, and she was exhausted for days afterward. But she never complained, and she never let it stop her from being present for destiny. By Thursday, Nicole noticed that Simone's hair was starting to come out in clumps. It's time, Simone said, holding a handful of hair she'd lost in the shower. Time for what? To shave it off. I don't want Destiny to see it falling out gradually. Better to take control of it. They made it a family event. Rose came over with her electric clippers and they set up chairs in the backyard. Destiny insisted on going first, getting a very short pixie cut in solidarity with her aunt. Your turn, Destiny said, handing the clippers to Nicole. Nicole looked at her sister, who nodded encouragingly. We're all in this together, Nicole said, and began cutting off her own hair. When it was Simone's turn, she sat in the chair with tears streaming down her face. Not from sadness, Nicole realized, but from overwhelming gratitude. I can't believe you're both doing this for me, she whispered. We're not doing it for you, Destiny said seriously. We're doing it with you. Rose took pictures of all 3 generations of Carter women with their matching short haircuts, and they laughed until their sides hurt. That weekend, they attended their first family event since the reconciliation, a church service where Rose had been a member for 40 years. The congregation had heard about Simone's diagnosis and welcomed her with such warmth that she cried during the opening hymn. After the service, dozens of people approached to offer help. Meal trains, rides to treatment, babysitting for Destiny. The outpouring of love was overwhelming. This is what community looks like, Rose told her granddaughters as they drove home. This is why family and faith matter. I had forgotten, Nicole admitted. I'd been so focused on my problems that I forgot we weren't alone in the world. None of us is alone, Simone said from the back seat, where she was napping against Destiny's shoulder. That's the most important thing I've learned from all of this. That evening, Nicole officially accepted Malik's settlement offer. The custody battle was over and they had won. But more importantly, they had reclaimed their family bond and discovered a strength they didn't know they possessed. As the sisters sat on the porch that night, watching Destiny chase fireflies in the yard, Nicole felt a peace she hadn't experienced in years. Thank you, she said to Simone. For what? For fighting. For forgiving me. For showing me what really matters. Thank you for coming back for me. I'll always come back for you. No matter what. Promise. Promise. The fight against cancer was just beginning, but they were no longer facing it as individuals. They were facing it as a family, united and unbreakable. And that made them stronger than any disease. 2 months into treatment, Simone was experiencing every side effect the doctors had warned about and several they hadn't mentioned. The nausea came in waves that left her unable to keep food down for days. Her energy levels dropped so low that climbing the stairs felt like running a marathon. Worst of all, the chemotherapy had triggered early menopause, bringing mood swings that left her feeling like a stranger in her own body. Nicole had become an expert at reading the signs. On bad days, she would find Simone sitting by the bathroom, too weak to get up, tears of frustration streaming down her face. I can't do this anymore, Simone whispered one particularly difficult morning. I'm not strong enough. Yes, you are, Nicole said, sitting beside her sister on the cold bathroom floor. You're the strongest person I know. I threw up 12 times last night. 12, Nicole. I can't even keep water down. Nicole helped her sister back to bed and called Dr. Peterson. An hour later, they were at the hospital, getting Simone hooked up to 4 fluids and anti-nausea medication. This is normal, Dr. Peterson assured them. Difficult but normal. We can adjust your medication regimen to help with the nausea. What if it doesn't help? Simone asked weakly. Then we try something else. Simone, you're responding well to treatment. The tumors are shrinking exactly as we hoped. I know it doesn't feel like progress when you're this sick, but your body is fighting back hard. The news that the treatment was working gave them all hope, but it didn't make the daily struggle any easier. At home, 6-year-old Destiny had become Simone's most devoted caregiver. She would bring her aunt crackers and ginger ale, read picture books aloud, and draw get-well cards that covered Simone's bedroom walls. Aunt Simone, Destiny said one afternoon, climbing carefully onto the bed, are you sad because you're sick? Sometimes, Simone admitted. It's okay to be sad when things are hard. Mama was sad when Daddy moved out, but she got happy again when you came back. Simone looked at her niece with wonder. Even at 6, Destiny had wisdom that adults often missed. You know what makes me happy? Simone asked. What? Spending time with you and your mama. Even when I feel terrible, being with my family makes everything better. Good, because we're never leaving you again. But their resolve would be tested in ways they hadn't anticipated. Nicole's supervisor at the medical office had initially been understanding about her modified schedule, but after 2 months of frequent absences and early departures, his patience was wearing thin. Nicole, I understand your sister is ill, but we have a business to run, Dr. Martinez said during a tense meeting. Your work performance has suffered, and we've had to hire temporary staff to cover your absences. I'm doing the best I can, Nicole replied. My sister has cancer. She needs me. I'm not unsympathetic, but if this continues, we'll have to consider other options. The threat was clear. Nicole's job was in jeopardy, and losing it would mean losing their health insurance right when they needed it most. That night, Nicole sat at the kitchen table, staring at bills she couldn't pay and insurance forms she didn't understand. The cancer treatments were expensive even with insurance, and her reduced work hours meant reduced pay. Simone found her there at 2 a.m., surrounded by papers and calculator batteries. You should be sleeping, Nicole said without looking up. So should you. What's all this? Bills? Insurance claims? Financial reality? Simone sat down across from her sister and started organizing the papers. How bad is it? Bad. Dr. Martinez threatened my job today. If I lose it, we lose insurance. If we lose insurance, we'll figure something else out. There is nothing else to figure out, Simone. I can't afford your treatment without insurance, and I can't keep my insurance without my job, and I can't keep my job while taking care of you. Then don't take care of me. Nicole looked up sharply. What? You heard me. Focus on work. I'll manage on my own. Absolutely not. Nicole, be practical. You have a daughter to support. You can't sacrifice everything for me. Watch me. They stared at each other across the table, both stubborn Carter women refusing to back down. There has to be another way, Nicole said finally. The next day, help came from an unexpected source. Grandma Rose arrived at the house with a folder full of paperwork and a determined expression. Sit down, both of you, she commanded. We're going to solve this problem right now. She spread papers across the kitchen table, bank statements, insurance documents, and legal forms Nicole didn't recognize. I've been doing research, Rose announced. First, there's something called the Family Medical Leave Act. Nicole, you're entitled to 12 weeks of unpaid leave to care for a family member with a serious illness. Your job is protected by law. Unpaid leave doesn't help with bills, Grandma, Nicole pointed out. Which brings me to point number 2. I'm selling my house. Both sisters stared at her in shock. Grandma, no, Simone said immediately. That house has been in our family for 50 years. And this family is more important than any house. The market is good right now. I can get enough to pay for your treatment and support this household while Nicole takes leave. Where would you live? Nicole asked. Here, of course. This house is plenty big enough for all of us. Destiny would love having her great-grandmother around full-time. We can't let you do that, Simone protested. Rose fixed her with a look that brooked no argument. Child, I have lived in that house alone for 20 years since your grandfather died. It's too big for me, too expensive to maintain, and too quiet for an old woman who needs family around her. This isn't charity, this is me being smart about the last chapter of my life. Nicole felt tears welling up. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. We're going to beat this cancer, save Nicole's career, give Destiny the most loving home possible, and prove that the Carter women are unbreakable when we stand together. The plan took shape over the following weeks. Rose put her house on the market and moved in permanently. Nicole took official family medical leave, which protected her job while allowing her to focus entirely on Simone's care. The church congregation organized meal trains and carpools for treatment appointments. But the most significant change was in the family dynamic itself. With Rose in the house, the burden of caregiving was shared. Rose handled cooking and cleaning, Nicole managed medical appointments and insurance, and even little Destiny had jobs, entertaining her aunt during the long, boring hours of treatment and keeping spirits up when everyone felt discouraged. This is what I always imagined family would be like, Simone said one evening as they all sat together watching a movie. She was feeling better that week. The new anti-nausea medication was working, and her energy was returning slightly. What do you mean? Nicole asked. Generations of women taking care of each other. Nobody having to carry the whole burden alone. Everyone contributing what they can. That's how it was when you girls were small, Rose remembered. Your mother and I used to tag team everything. She'd work days, I'd watch you at night. She'd handle discipline, I'd handle treats. We were a team. I wish she were here now, Nicole said softly. She is, Rose replied firmly. She's in every strong choice you make, every moment you refuse to give up on family. She's in Simone's fighting spirit and Destiny's loving heart. Your mama is all over this house. That night, as Nicole tucked Destiny into bed, her daughter had a confession. Mama, I was scared when Aunt Simone got sick. Scared of what, baby girl? Scared that you would be sad all the time like when Daddy left. But you're not sad anymore. Nicole thought about this. You're right. I'm not sad anymore even though things are hard. Why not? Because we're all together. When families stick together through hard times, it makes everyone stronger. Even Great-Grandma Rose? Especially Great-Grandma Rose. She's the strongest of all of us. As Nicole turned off the light, she reflected on how much their lives had changed in just a few months. They had gone from being scattered and broken to being united and purposeful. The cancer was still there, still requiring treatment and causing difficult days. But it no longer felt like an insurmountable enemy. It felt like something they could beat together. And that confidence would carry them through the hardest part yet to come. 5 months into treatment, Simone's latest scans showed something that made Dr. Peterson break into the biggest smile Nicole had ever seen on a medical professional. The tumors have shrunk by 70%, he announced, turning the computer screen so they could see the comparison images. This is exactly the response we were hoping for. Simone stared at the scan images, unable to process what she was seeing. 70%? 70%. At this rate, you're going to be an excellent candidate for surgery in about 6 weeks. If the surgery goes well, we may be looking at a complete remission. Nicole grabbed Simone's hand so tightly she probably left marks. Complete remission? It's the best case scenario, but based on your response so far, it's very possible. For the first time since her diagnosis, Simone allowed herself to believe she might actually survive this. The celebration at home was joyful but cautious. Rose made Simone's favorite meal, fried chicken, mac and cheese, and green beans, and Destiny created a banner that read, Aunt Simone is kicking cancer's butt. Destiny? Nicole laughed. Where did you learn that word? Great-Grandma Rose taught me, Destiny said innocently. Rose tried to look stern but failed. Sometimes the situation calls for colorful language. That evening, as the family settled in for their usual movie night, Simone felt a contentment she hadn't experienced since before her diagnosis. Her hair was starting to grow back in soft fuzz, her energy was returning, and for the first time in months she wasn't nauseous. I have something to tell you all, she said during a commercial break. Everyone turned to look at her. Dr. Lewis offered me a promotion. Assistant supervisor in the cancer ward. It would mean working with newly diagnosed patients, helping them navigate what we've been through. That's wonderful, Nicole exclaimed. Are you going to take it? I want to. But it would mean longer hours, more responsibility. I wanted to make sure that was okay with everyone. Rose reached over and patted Simone's hand. Baby girl, you've spent 5 months fighting for your life. If you're strong enough to help other people fight for theirs, then you should do it. But what about Destiny? I don't want to abandon my responsibilities here. You're not abandoning anything, Nicole said firmly. You're growing into the person you're supposed to be. And Destiny needs to see that surviving something terrible can lead to helping others survive it too. Destiny, who had been listening carefully, piped up, Will you help other kids whose aunts have cancer? I might, Simone said. Would you like that? Yes. Then they can learn about making biscuits and giving extra hugs too. The next week brought another milestone. Malik's first unsupervised visit with Destiny in 6 months. The supervised visitation had gone well, and the family therapist recommended gradually returning to a normal custody schedule. Nicole was nervous about letting Destiny spend the weekend with her father, but she was also proud of the growth they'd all experienced. Are you sure you're ready for this? She asked Destiny as they packed her overnight bag. I'm ready. Daddy seems different now. Less angry. People can change when they face consequences for their actions, Rose observed. Maybe losing his family taught him what really matters. When Malik arrived to pick up Destiny, he seemed genuinely humbled. He thanked Nicole for agreeing to the unsupervised visits and asked how Simone was doing. She's responding well to treatment, Nicole said carefully. I'm glad. And Nicole, I want you to know. I'm ashamed of what I did. The recordings, the custody fight, all of it. I was angry about the divorce and I took it out on you and Destiny. Nicole studied his face, looking for signs of manipulation, but he seemed sincere. The important thing is that you've learned from it, she said finally. Destiny loves you and she needs her father in her life. But she also needs him to be a man she can respect. I'm working on that. In therapy like the court ordered. Good. As they drove away, Nicole felt another burden lift from her shoulders. The family was healing on multiple levels. That afternoon, while Simone was at work and Rose was napping, Nicole found herself alone in the house for the first time in months. Instead of feeling lonely, she felt peaceful. She walked through the rooms, noticing changes that had happened gradually. Simone's get well cards were still taped to the walls, but now they were joined by photos from recent family outings. Rose's knitting projects were scattered around the living room. Destiny's art supplies had taken over the kitchen table. The house felt alive in a way it never had when Nicole was struggling through single parenthood alone. Her phone rang, Simone calling from the hospital. How's your first day in the new position? Nicole asked. Overwhelming but good. I met with 3 families today. One of them reminded me so much of us when we were at our lowest point. What did you tell them? I told them that cancer is terrible, but it doesn't have to destroy your family. Sometimes it can actually make your family stronger. And did they believe you? Not yet. But they will. Just like we did. That evening, Simone came home energized in a way Nicole hadn't seen since before the diagnosis. She talked excitedly about her new patients, her plans for improving the support services, her ideas for helping families navigate the insurance maze. You found your calling, Rose observed. I think I did. I never would have discovered it without going through this myself. That's how it works sometimes, Rose said. God takes our worst experiences and turns them into ways to help other people. Do you really believe that? Nicole asked. That all this suffering had a purpose? Rose considered the question seriously. I believe that we can choose to give it purpose. The cancer wasn't sent to teach Simone a lesson or to bring our family together. But we can choose to let it do those things anyway. I like that better than thinking it was all part of some plan, Simone agreed. It means we had power in the situation, not just fate. As they prepared for bed, Nicole realized that they had passed through the worst of the crisis. The surgery was still ahead and there would be more challenges, but they had proven to themselves that they could handle whatever came next. Tomorrow I'm going back to work, Nicole announced. Just part-time at first, but Dr. Martinez agreed to let me have my job back. Are you sure you're ready? Simone asked. I'm sure. You're stable, Rose is here to help, and I need to start rebuilding our financial security. What about when I have surgery in a few weeks? I'll take time off for that, of course. But we can't live in crisis mode forever. We need to start building our new normal. Our new normal, Simone repeated thoughtfully. I like the sound of that. Their new normal would include challenges and setbacks, but it would also include joy, growth, and an unshakable family bond. They had not just survived the worst year of their lives, they had transformed it into the foundation for their strongest years yet. The morning of Simone's surgery, the entire family gathered at the hospital at 5 a.m. Destiny had insisted on coming, despite the early hour and the fact that she would spend most of the day in waiting rooms. I need to be here, she had declared with 6-year-old certainty. Aunt Simone needs all of us. Dr. Peterson met with them before the procedure to explain what would happen. The surgery would take approximately 4 hours. They would remove the remaining tumor tissue and several lymph nodes to check for cancer spread. Based on how well you've responded to chemotherapy, he told Simone, I'm optimistic that we'll find very little cancer left. But we won't know for certain until we get the pathology results next week. Simone nodded, trying to stay calm. Nicole could see the fear in her sister's eyes despite her brave front. Can I have a few minutes alone with my family? Simone asked. Of course. We'll come get you in about 20 minutes. When the medical team left, Simone pulled her family into a tight circle. I need to say some things just in case, she began. Simone, don't, Nicole started. Let me finish. If something happens during surgery, I want you all to know that these past few months have been the happiest of my adult life. Not because of the cancer, but because we found our way back to being a real family. She turned to Destiny first. Sweet girl, you taught me that love can make any scary situation bearable. I want you to always remember that you have the power to make people feel better just by being yourself. Destiny nodded solemnly, tears in her eyes but trying to be brave. Nicole, Simone continued, you saved my life in more ways than the obvious one. You showed me what it means to fight for the people you love. Promise me you'll keep being that fierce, protective sister to everyone who needs it. I promise, Nicole whispered. And Grandma Rose, you showed us all what real strength looks like. You gave up your house, your independence, your quiet retirement to take care of us. I will never forget that sacrifice. Rose dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. It wasn't a sacrifice, baby girl. It was a privilege. If I don't make it through this, you will, all three women said in unison. Simone smiled through her tears. But if I don't, you three are going to be fine. You're going to take care of each other, and you're going to remember that the Carter women are unbreakable. We're unbreakable because we have you, Nicole said. No, you're unbreakable because you have each other. I just reminded you of that. The surgery went even better than Dr. Peterson had hoped. When he came to the waiting room 4 hours later, he was grinning. The tumor was almost completely gone, he announced. Just a few scattered cells, exactly what we hoped to find. The lymph nodes looked clean, but we'll have official results in a few days. Nicole felt her knees go weak with relief. Rose caught her arm and helped her to a chair. She's going to be okay? Destiny asked, tugging on Dr. Peterson's lab coat. Your aunt is going to be just fine, he told her. She'll be sore for a while and she'll need to take it easy, but the cancer is gone. Gone? Like forever gone? We'll need to monitor her closely for the next few years, but yes, it looks like forever gone. Destiny let out a whoop that could be heard throughout the hospital wing. Recovery was slower than Simone had expected. The surgery had been more extensive than anticipated, and she was weak and uncomfortable for weeks afterward. But she was also filled with a lightness she hadn't felt in almost a year. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, she confessed to Nicole one afternoon as they sat on the porch, watching Destiny play in the yard. What do you mean? I keep thinking something else terrible is going to happen. Like maybe I don't deserve to be this happy after everything we've been through. Nicole turned to study her sister's profile. Simone Carter, are you telling me you feel guilty for surviving cancer? Not guilty exactly. More like suspicious. Like maybe the universe made a mistake and is going to correct it. The universe didn't make a mistake. You fought hard, we all fought hard, and you won. You're allowed to enjoy winning. It's just that everything is so good now. My job, our family, Destiny's happiness, even Malik being a better father. It feels too good to be true. Nicole was quiet for a moment, watching her daughter chase butterflies with a pure joy that only 6-year-olds possess. Maybe, she said finally, good things happen in clusters just like bad things do. Maybe we're entering our cluster of good. You think so? I think we've earned it. That evening brought news that confirmed Nicole's optimism. The final pathology report showed no remaining cancer cells anywhere in Simone's body. She was officially in complete remission. Dr. Peterson delivered the news with a smile so wide it seemed to take up his entire face. I've been an oncologist for 15 years, he told them, and I never get tired of saying these words, you are cancer-free. The celebration that night was everything a family victory should be. Rose cooked Simone's favorite meal again, this time with the addition of a cake that said, Cancer Survivor, in bright pink frosting. Destiny had made a playlist of all their favorite songs. Nicole had invited Dr. Lewis and several of the nurses from the cancer ward. Speech. Speech. Destiny chanted, banging her fork against her glass like she'd seen in movies. Simone stood up, still moving carefully but with strength returning to her posture. 6 months ago I thought my life was over. Not just because of the cancer but because I thought I'd lost my family forever. I was wrong on both counts. She looked around the table at the faces of everyone who had carried her through the darkest time of her life. I learned that family isn't just about being related by blood. It's about choosing to show up for each other, especially when things get hard. Dr. Lewis, you showed up for me when I had nowhere else to go. Nurse Janet, you showed up every single treatment day with encouragement and terrible jokes. The nurses laughed and raised their glasses. Grandma Rose, you showed up by literally selling your house and moving your entire life to take care of us. Destiny, you showed up with hugs and drawings and the kind of pure love that makes everything bearable. She turned to Nicole last. And Nicole, you showed up even after I gave you every reason not to. You showed up when I was angry, when I was scared, when I was impossible to be around. You showed up and you never left again. Nicole was crying openly now. I'll never leave again. I promise. I know. Because that's what Carter women do. We show up for each other. To showing up. Rose called out, raising her glass. To showing up, everyone echoed. Later that evening, after the guests had gone home and Destiny was asleep, the three Carter women sat together in the living room, each lost in their own thoughts. What happens now? Nicole asked. I mean, we've been in crisis mode for so long, I'm not sure what normal life looks like anymore. Maybe that's okay, Simone suggested. Maybe we get to create our own version of normal. What would that look like? Rose, who had been quietly knitting in her chair, looked up. It would look like this. 3 generations of women choosing to build a life together instead of just surviving separate lives. Are you saying you want to stay here permanently? Nicole asked. Even though the crisis is over? Child, I'm 78 years old. Where else would I want to be besides with my granddaughters and great-granddaughter? Simone leaned forward. What about you, Nicole? Are you ready to have permanent housemates? Nicole thought about the question seriously. A year ago, she would have been desperate for privacy and independence. Now, the idea of coming home to an empty house felt lonely and wrong. I can't imagine it any other way now, she admitted. This feels like how families are supposed to live. Multi-generational households, Rose nodded approvingly. It's how people lived for thousands of years before everyone decided they needed to be completely independent. So we're staying together? Simone asked. We're staying together, Nicole confirmed. All of us. All of us. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, each woman processing the enormity of the commitment they had just made. They were choosing to build something rare in modern America. A truly multi-generational family home where everyone contributed and everyone belonged. I have one request, Simone said eventually. What's that? Nicole asked. Next year, when they ask me for my cancer survivor story for the hospital newsletter, I want to tell them about this. About how cancer didn't just threaten my life, it gave me my family back. That's a beautiful story, Rose said. It's not finished yet, Nicole added. This is just the end of the scary part. Now we get to write the happy part. What do you think the happy part will look like? Simone asked. I think it looks like Destiny growing up in a house full of women who adore her. I think it looks like you helping other families fight cancer while building an amazing career. I think it looks like me being the best single mother I can be because I'm not single anymore, I have a team. And I think it looks like Sunday dinners and bedtime stories and graduations and weddings and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, Rose added. All the ordinary, extraordinary moments that make up a life well lived. Speaking of weddings, Simone said with a mischievous smile, Dr. Lewis mentioned that there's a very nice single father in the cancer ward who's been asking about you, Nicole. Simone. What? You're young, you're beautiful, you're an amazing mother, and you've proven you can handle anything life throws at you. Some lucky man is going to figure that out eventually. I'm not looking for a relationship right now. That's usually when the best ones find you, Rose observed with the wisdom of 78 years. Can we focus on the fact that I'm cancer-free instead of my non-existent love life? Simone laughed. We can focus on both, Nicole said, hugging her sister. We have time for everything now. Yes, Simone agreed, looking around at her family, her chosen family, her fought-for family, her unbreakable family. We have all the time in the world. 1 year later, the Carter family home was bustling with activity. It was Simone's first cancerversary, the anniversary of her cancer-free diagnosis, and they were hosting a celebration that had grown far beyond what anyone had originally planned. The backyard was filled with people who had become part of their extended family over the past year. Dr. Lewis and her husband were manning the barbecue grill. Nurse Janet was organizing games for the children who had come with their families. Several families from Simone's patient support group had driven hours to be there. Even Malik had come, bringing his new girlfriend, a kind woman who had quickly won Destiny's approval. I can't believe how many people are here, Simone said to Nicole as they watched the festivities from the kitchen window. I can, Nicole replied, putting the finishing touches on a cake that had taken her 3 attempts to get right. Look what we built, Simone. Look at this community. It was true. Over the past year, their little family unit had become the center of a much larger chosen family. Rose had started a knitting circle that met at their house every Tuesday. Nicole had joined the PDA and discovered a talent for organizing fundraisers. Simone's work with cancer patients had brought dozens of families into their orbit. Mama. Aunt Simone. Destiny burst through the kitchen door, her face flushed with excitement. Come see. Dr. Peterson brought his guitar and he's going to play music. They followed Destiny outside, where indeed Dr. Peterson, who they had discovered was a weekend musician, was tuning up an acoustic guitar. This song, he announced to the gathered crowd, is for the strongest family I know. The women who taught me that healing isn't just about medicine, it's about love. As he began to play, Simone felt Nicole slip her hand into hers. Rose appeared on her other side and Destiny climbed into her lap. The 4 generations of Carter women, biological and chosen, stood together listening to music and surrounded by people who loved them. "Thank you," Simone whispered to her sister. "For what this time? For not giving up on us. For fighting for us even when I couldn't fight for myself. Thank you for surviving," Nicole whispered back. "Thank you for staying." Later, as the sun began to set and guests started to leave, the immediate family gathered on the front porch, their favorite spot for important conversations. "I have an announcement," Rose said, pulling an official-looking document from her purse. "What is it, Grandma?" Destiny asked, climbing into her great-grandmother's lap. "Well, you know how I sold my old house to help pay for your Aunt Simone's medical bills?" They all nodded. "And you know how we've all been living together and loving it?" More nods. "Well, I went to see a lawyer last week and I've decided to put this house in all of our names. Nicole's, Simone's, Destiny's, and mine. It's officially the Carter family home, legally and forever." Nicole gasped. "Grandma, you can't." "I can and I did. This house belongs to all of us now. Nobody can ever be kicked out, nobody can ever be left homeless, and nobody can ever be alone again. We're bound together by more than love now, we're bound together by shared ownership of our home." Simone started crying. "Rose, that's the most beautiful thing anyone has ever done for us. It's the most practical thing too. When I die..." "Grandma," Destiny protested. "When I die," Rose continued firmly, "this house will already belong to you girls. No probate, no fighting, no confusion. Just family taking care of family forever." Nicole wiped her eyes. "How do we ever thank you for something like that?" "You don't thank me. You just keep doing what you're doing. Keep choosing each other every day. Keep building this beautiful life together." "We can do that," Simone said. "Promise?" Rose asked. "Promise," all 3 women said in unison. Destiny, who had been listening seriously to this adult conversation, raised her small hand. "I promise to. And when I grow up and get married, can my husband live here too?" The women laughed. "If he's good enough for you, he's good enough for this house," Nicole said. "But he'll have to pass the Carter women approval test." "What's that?" "He has to prove he knows how to show up for family," Simone explained. "Like you all showed up for each other?" "Exactly like that." As they sat together watching the stars come out, each woman reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. A year ago, Nicole had been a struggling single mother facing a bitter custody battle. Simone had been homeless and dying of cancer. Rose had been living alone in a house too big for her dreams. Now they were co-owners of not just a house but a life. They had created something precious and rare, a truly functional, multi-generational family where everyone contributed and everyone belonged. "I have something to tell you all too," Nicole said, suddenly nervous. "What is it?" Simone asked. "Remember that single father Simone mentioned? The one from the cancer ward. David?" Simone's eyes lit up. "The one whose daughter was in treatment at the same time as me? That's the one. We've been talking. A lot. And yesterday he asked me to dinner. A real dinner, not just coffee in the hospital cafeteria." "And?" Rose prompted. "And I said yes. But I also told him that I come with a package deal. If he wants to date me, he has to understand that I'm part of a family unit that includes you all." "What did he say?" Destiny asked. Nicole smiled. "He said that was the best thing about me. That I had already proven I knew how to love people through the hard times." "Smart man," Rose approved. "I like him already," Simone added. "Does this mean I might get another uncle?" Destiny asked hopefully. "Slow down there, little girl," Nicole laughed. "We're just going to dinner. But maybe eventually?" "Maybe eventually. But even if I do get married again someday, nothing changes here. This is our home, our family. Any man who marries into the Carter family has to understand that he's joining us, not taking me away from you." "Good," Destiny said with satisfaction. "Because I don't want anyone to ever break us up again." "Nobody ever will," Simone promised. "We've been through the worst thing we could imagine and we came out stronger. Nothing can break us apart now." "Nothing," Nicole agreed. "Nothing," Rose confirmed. As if summoned by their declaration, Destiny's voice piped up one more time. "Can we do this every year? Have a big party and invite everyone and remember how we're the strongest family ever." "Every year," Simone promised. "Every year for the rest of our lives. Even when I'm old like Great-Grandma Rose? Especially when you're old like Great-Grandma Rose. By then you'll be the one keeping everyone together." Destiny considered this responsibility seriously. "I can do that. I learned from the best." As they headed inside for the night, each woman carried with her the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing you are exactly where you belong. They had faced the worst year of their lives and transformed it into the foundation for their best years. The Carter family home would see many more celebrations, many more challenges, many more moments of joy and sorrow. But whatever came next, they would face it together. Because that's what families do. They show up for each other. They choose each other. They love each other through everything. And sometimes, if they're very lucky, they get to create something beautiful from something broken. The Carter women had done exactly that. And their story was just beginning. Dr. Simone Carter Lewis stood at the podium of the National Cancer Survivors Convention, looking out at an audience of 500 people. Her new husband, Dr. James Lewis, Dr. Patricia Lewis's son, whom she had met at a hospital fundraiser 2 years ago, sat in the front row beside Nicole, Rose, and 11-year-old Destiny. 5 years ago, Simone began, I received 2 devastating pieces of news on the same day. The first was that my cancer had returned and I had 18 months to live. The second was that my sister, my best friend, my only family besides our grandmother, had thrown me out of her house and told me she never wanted to see me again. The audience was completely silent. I'm standing here today because both of those things turned out to be wrong. I didn't die in 18 months. I'm completely cancer-free 5 years later. And my sister didn't abandon me forever. She came back for me when it mattered most. She looked down at Nicole, who was dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. But this isn't just a story about surviving cancer. It's a story about surviving the breakdown of relationships and choosing to rebuild them stronger than before. It's about the difference between a family of circumstance and a family of choice. Simone went on to tell the story of that terrible day when she had nowhere to go, and how her family had found their way back to each other through honesty, forgiveness, and the simple decision to keep showing up. Today, I live in a multi-generational home with my sister, my grandmother, my niece, and my new husband. My sister Nicole is now the director of patient advocacy at our hospital. Our grandmother Rose runs a support group for caregivers of cancer patients. My niece Destiny volunteers in the children's ward every Saturday. She paused, her voice thick with emotion. And my ex-brother-in-law Malik, who caused so much pain with his betrayal, is now one of our closest family friends. Because we learned that forgiveness isn't about forgetting the hurt, it's about choosing to create something better from the ashes of what was destroyed. The applause was thunderous, but Simone held up her hand. I'm not telling you this story because we're special. I'm telling you because every family facing a medical crisis has the opportunity to make the same choice we did. You can let the disease divide you, or you can let it unite you. You can focus on what you've lost, or you can focus on what you still have to fight for. She looked directly at Nicole. My sister saved my life not by curing my cancer, but by refusing to let me face it alone. And in saving my life, she saved her own family too. Today, her daughter is growing up in a house full of love, wisdom, and unshakable bonds. As Simone concluded her speech and returned to her seat, Nicole reached over and squeezed her hand. Thank you, Nicole whispered. For what? For turning our story into something that helps other people. Thank you for giving me a story worth telling. After the conference, the family drove home to their house, the house that now had Rose's garden in the backyard, Destiny's art studio in the converted garage, Simone and James's newlywed nest in the finished basement, and Nicole's dating life carefully managed by a family that had learned to embrace change without losing their core bonds. Yes, Nicole had eventually married David, the single father from the cancer ward. Their wedding 2 years ago had been held in their own backyard, officiated by Dr. Peterson, with Destiny as maid of honor and Rose as the grandmother of both bride and groom. I love our chaos, David had said during his wedding vows, looking around at the multi-generational, multi-family gathering that had become their normal. Our chaos loves you too, Nicole had replied, and she had meant it. Now, as they pulled into the driveway of the Carter family home, Destiny, now a confident 11-year-old who wore her hair in the same short style her aunt had worn during chemo, looked up from her homework. Aunt Simone, did you tell them about the scholarship fund? I did. And I told them it was your idea. 2 years ago, Destiny had suggested using some of Rose's life insurance money. Rose was still very much alive, but had excellent financial planning, to create scholarships for children of cancer patients. The Destiny Carter Scholarship Fund now helps dozens of kids each year. Did you tell them about the wedding? Rose asked, looking up from her knitting with a mischievous smile. Nicole groaned. Grandma, we are not pregnant. We've been married for 2 years. When we have news, you'll be the first to know. I'm just saying this house has plenty of room for more babies. Great-Grandma Rose, Destiny said seriously, you can't rush these things. Mama and David need time to just be married before they add more people to our family. Listen to the 11-year-old, James laughed, settling beside his wife on the couch. She's the wise one in this family. She gets it from her great-grandmother, Simone said, winking at Rose. She gets it from all of us, Nicole corrected. That's what happens when you raise a child in a house full of strong women who've been through hell and come out singing. As the family settled into their evening routine, homework help, dinner preparation, storytelling, and the comfortable chaos of people who have chosen to build a life together, each person carried with them the deep knowledge that they had created something rare and precious. They had taken the worst thing that could happen to a family and transformed it into the foundation for the best thing that could happen to a family. The Carter family home would continue to evolve, continue to welcome new members, continue to face challenges and celebrate victories. But the lesson they had learned during Simone's cancer fight would remain constant. Families aren't just about who you're related to by blood. Families are about who you choose to show up for, day after day, year after year, crisis after crisis. Families are about love in action, not just love in words. And sometimes, the most beautiful families are the ones that have been broken apart and consciously rebuilt stronger than before. The Carter women had built such a family. And their legacy would live on in every person they helped, every story they shared, and every moment they chose love over fear, forgiveness over resentment, and unity over division. Their story had started with a text message that destroyed everything. It had become a testament to the truth that nothing, not cancer, not betrayal, not fear, not pride, is stronger than the love of people who refuse to give up on each other.